Hey you witches! For those of you who are new around here, my name is Taya. Welcome to the channel. And for those of you who are returning viewers, thank you so much for coming back again. And please consider subscribing. It's a great way to help us build our channel. Now, what are we going to talk about today? Well, today is another Witchling Wednesday segment, and I want to talk about beginner essentials. What do you really need to get started in witchcraft? Because I get it, right? You're new and there's so much stuff. And I mean, I look at my practice and there's so much stuff. And I think we witches, we love our stuff, our ephemera, our tools. We love our stuff. Mostly, I think at heart, we are all weird hoarders and collectors of some sort, like to the point that it is almost a prerequisite that if you want to be a witch, you need to love stuff. But there's an old adage, and it says that a true witch, an effective witch, can stand naked in the middle of an empty room with no tools or anything and work effective magic. And on some level, I will agree with that. But when you're starting out, tools are helpful, right? You need to practice. You need to get the feel of what it feels like, and tools can help you with that. They're going to help you practice so that one day you can be that very effective naked witch in the middle of a cement room. But you're not going to start out there, right? So what do you start with? I am going to recommend some cost-effective, easily found items. If you think back in the day, you know, I'm going back to like the 1500s, the 1600s. What did witches use? They used what they had on hand. They used what was easily found. They weren't ordering in specialty items from India for their practice. That wasn't an option. They had to use what was local, what was just there for them. Okay, so I would recommend that you keep that in mind. If you have to go and order something from some specialty esoteric shop, I mean, that's fine. I definitely have items that I've done that with, but it's not necessary, right? You can just use what you have on hand. So, what are some of those items? The first thing I'm always going to recommend is a journal. It doesn't have to be a fancy leather-bound embossed thing. It could be a scribbler. But basically, you need something to keep track of what you're learning, what you're doing, and what your results are. Okay, that's really important. And I think that's a very important part of witchcraft, is that's how you learn and you grow, is by doing and then assessing and then saying, okay, next time, how can I do this better? What can I add, subtract, etc.? How can I change this so that it's more effective? And then doing it again and again and again. And that's where these notebooks come in handy, okay? So you need a notebook. How about some candles? Birthday candles, tea lights, tapers, pillars, whatever you've got. I mean, you can go and just buy cute little colored candles. You could use just a simple tea light. I like, if I ever find white birthday candles, I buy them up in bulk, I'll tell you. Right? But just some candles. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, whatever you've got on hand. And really, candles, they'll set the mood. You can use them to meditate. You can use them as ritual markers. You can do candle magic spells with them. And the other thing that candles do is they can represent the fire element in your practice. I think that's something kind of important. You do want to be able to sort of pull in the elements, and they will represent fire for you. Okay, but just whatever you got on hand, right? You don't need to go out and buy a ton of special stuff. If they're colored, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. If you can find white, white is always best. The next thing I'd recommend would be some salt. Good old table salt. Here I have got, this is a coarser grain salt, more like a pickling salt. You could get Himalayan pink salt. I mean, whatever you want. You can get salt at the dollar store. But just basic table salt, it's good for purification, right? You can put it in your bath water. You can mix it with like actual water and consecrate your items with it. So it's good for purification, protection, defense. It's a great spell ingredient. You can cast a quick circle with it, and it can also represent the earth element for you. All right, so salt. Just plain old everyday salt is another one. All right, now that brings us candles, fire, salt is earth. How do you represent water and air? Well, water, I mean, guys, tap water is fine. If you want, you can make some moon water with it. Right, do a little bit of fanciness, but just tap water is fine. And if you want to represent air, if you blow out one of your candles and it smokes, that's a great representation of air. And I'll have another one for you in a few seconds here. Because the next thing I would recommend would be some rosemary. Rosemary is an all-around magical herb. I'll get some in my hand here for you. Right, that's your rosemary. Whoops, as I spill it all over my floor. But rosemary is all magical herb, can be used in almost any spell, and it is protection, healing, prosperity. You can use it in love magic. You can use it in a ton of different places. The other thing you can do with rosemary, if you want to get a little fancy with your air element, rather than just blowing out a candle and showing the air that way with the smoke, is you can get like those little charcoal pellets, which again, you don't need them right off the start, but you can use them and burn rosemary as an incense. So rosemary could, as an incense, represent air for you as well. And the final thing that I would say, if you want to, you know, have a few things in your tool belt, would be like a quartz crystal. Quartz is very versatile, and it can be programmed for any purpose that you want it. So it's just, right, this is just a clear quartz. Now, you don't have to go to the store and buy it. I have actually found naturally occurring quartz. This I got at the lake where we go camping every summer, and I brought it home and tumbled it. I didn't need to tumble it. I could have just left it raw, or you can just use any stone. Any stone that you find out in nature that speaks to you. I brought this one home because it's kind of egg-shaped, and I just thought it was really cool. So, I mean, I've worked with this in my practice. So you don't necessarily need to go and buy a fancy crystal. You can use stones. And if you look back in the days of, you know, ancestral practice, they weren't going to the store and buying beautiful, polished, clear quartz crystals. If they found one in nature, absolutely, right? They would use that. But they would use the rocks and stones that they found around them, right? They would find one that spoke to them. Go somewhere, like this one, it's from where we go camping every summer with my family. It's from the lake there. Maybe there's somewhere you like to go in nature to meditate or to just feel connected. Look around that area for stones that you can bring home and sort of bring that, the essence of that area into your practice with that stone. And on that note, that's kind of everything, but I would really encourage you, as you continue to build and grow your practice, is to look to nature, to look at what you have around you to build the stuff of your practice. Again, just ancestrally, that's what they would have done. I have an entire apothecary cabinet full of herbs and flowers and trees and just stuff, you name it, all foraged locally in my suburban area. You know, I live in the city. I live in suburbia. It's an urban area, but you know, there's like a park where the kids go and play, and there's like some trees and bushes there, and there's there's like a local pond. It's actually a stormwater drainage area, but right, there's a whole ecosystem down there that I can go and forage in. And the only herbs that I buy, other than like grocery store herbs, the only ones that I would order in special is mugwort and wormwood, which I could grow myself, but I haven't chosen to do so yet. I order those in because sometimes I will take them internally, and I want to be sure that what I have is pure, that what I have is organic, and that what I have is properly mugwort and wormwood. So those are the only two I order in. Everything else I forage for locally, and I use that in my practice instead. So I hope that kind of helped with some ideas on how to sort of build or to begin the first tools of your practice. And yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Maybe there's something that you're like, hey, you missed it. Like, what about this thing or that thing? Seriously, fill us in, leave it in the comments. What do you think are some essential sort of beginner tools or things to have on hand to sort of get you started in a witchcraft practice? I'd love to know what you think. All right, and otherwise, we will catch you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Mwah.